Okay, so hi everyone, welcome back to today's session. So, as you all know, we have so far covered few chapters. Like I guess we have done first 6 chapters from our science syllabus. We are revising our class 6 science syllabus for the upcoming exams, and also our target is to brush up the concepts that may help us in our class 7. So like now you all will be moving to class 7 soon, or might have moved to, but class 6 syllabus is very important for like a quick revision purpose. We are here today back with a new topic. So just a moment, I shall share my screen in moments. I am looking for some more things. Okay. So now I shall share my PPT that I have prepared. Yeah. I hope the screen is visible to all. All right. Okay. So today is not our session 4. It has been mistakenly written here. It's session 5 today. Okay. Okay. So right now, till now we have covered, first chapter we did in session 1, second in session 2, third and fourth in session 3, and fifth and sixth unit in session 4. And today we'll be doing seventh and eighth unit in session 5. Okay. And like maintaining the everyday's lecture flow, we'll be starting with the initials of the chapter, followed by details, and then we will be covering up with a quiz for every topic. Okay, so I hope you all will actively participate in the class, and like I'm always constantly looking at the chats that you all are open to. You are always allowed to write anything in chat as far as like your doubts are concerned, and if there is any sometimes glitches happen, technical glitches where the screen might not be visible to you all, or my audio lags, you can always just raise your hand or can turn on your mics to share the problems. All right, also you can use question and answer section. The questions you will ask through the Q&A section will be answered at the last. All right, and always you can use the chat box, so I'll try to answer both. Okay, so let's move to the PPT. Okay, so like children, as I said, we'll be doing unit 7 and 8 today. So unit 7, according to the NCERT syllabus of class 6 science, is getting to know plants, and the 8th unit is body movements, right? This is not perfect. Yeah, it is good now. Okay, so getting to know plants. What are plants? Yes, we have studied plants so well previously, like how plants act as source of food. They are source of fiber, which fiber is converted to fabric, and this fabric is used to make our clothes. Fine. So let's study, you see, like how important these plants are. If we don't have food, we'll die. If we don't have fiber, what we will be? So plants play a major role in our daily lives. Major role in our daily lives. So for that reason, we should know more of plants. Let's try it out to know more of plants. Like what plant structure is, what are different components of plants, components, and as I just said, structure, functions of various parts, right? So we will cover up those things in this unit here. Okay, and unit 8 is about body movements. This we shall see when we complete unit 7. Then I'll give a brief introduction to unit 8 as well. Okay, so right now let's move ahead. Okay, so Thiran, as I was just saying, we know very well that plants play a very major role. Okay, like as in this slide, you can see I have tried to put in some, forms of plants. Like these are, the show plants which we use to showcase, decoration purpose. Like these are, climbers and creepers that we shall study further. These are huge big trees, right? These are pot plants which we keep plants in pot as well. So pot plants, pot plants. All right. So also we have just now discussed plants have extensive role in our lives. They are the source of food. They are the source of shelter, the fiber, and they are also the source of shelter. For not just human, not human beings, I would say direct. Okay, also human beings. They give us wood. Wood is majorly used in house construction, and okay, that's an indirect use. But if I talk about birds, monkeys, they live on trees. They directly live on trees. So it's a very huge source of shelter for animals like monkeys and birds. Not just monkeys, birds. There are many animals that live on trees. So that's another importance. If I talk about food, we consume various parts of plant as foods. We eat roots, we eat stem, we eat seeds, we eat fruit. Right, we have so far studied this in the previous chapter. Talking about the fiber, we use cotton balls. That is nothing but fruit of the plant. Cotton balls is nothing but fruit. So we are using fruit of plant as our cloth. Similarly, we are using stem of jute. Stem of jute. Jute has very important in making bags. Importance in making bags. So plants play a very major role, and that's the reason why we are studying some more things, some more concepts about plants today. Okay. So now I'll just erase. I have to share more things here. Then this was the basic thing that I just told you about. Why do we need to study more of plants? Why do we need to know our plants? Why? Right? So they play a very major role in life on Earth. So that is why we should study more of plants. Right? Just a moment. Uh, Almost done. Yeah, very sorry for that. We are also new to this platform. Okay. So now, children, you might have observed that we have various types of plants. As I just said, there are few plants that we keep in pots, few plants we keep in trees. In like they are not in trees, not but they are like on ground and are termed as trees. Huge trees. Few are like these small climbers and creepers. So there are various types that we shall study now. Okay, various classifications. Since we are studying in details the types of plants, knowing more about plants, so we'll definitely cover first thing as classification of plants. Secondly, after this classification, we shall go for the structure of plants. After this structure, we should not neglect the components of plants. And as it is always necessary to know functions and you know locations of various parts of plants. It's a very important part in biology. Like bio-based chapters, it's majorly asked about the functions and locations of various nature various parts of a plant or a human body when we'll study more in biology in senior classes. So it's a majorly asked question. Okay, so we shall study these things in the forthcoming slides. All right, next. Okay, so children, depending upon the size of the plant, we shall segregate plants into three categories. Three categories. Okay, the first one is herbs, second is shrubs, third is trees. Okay, herbs are the small, very small plants or the soft plants. So as mentioned here, plants with green and tender stems are called herbs. Example, coriander, mint, parsley. These all are what? These all are your herbs. Okay, let's write it in green, since we are working on herbs. So herbs are small, greeny plants. Green plants, make sure. Okay, majorly when we go for exams, they ask you differentiate between these three things. Herbs, shrubs, and trees. So you should know the major differences. Like herbs have green stem. Well, it's not visible on yellow. So let's go back to red. Sorry for that. Actually, I didn't know that it would not work. Okay, so herbs are soft. They have green stems, green and soft stems. Tender means soft. Herbs, they are usually short and may not have branches. They are short, may not have branches. They may or may not have. Okay, may not have branches. Then talking about shrubs. Shrubs are, plants of, mediocre level, I can say, mediocre size. Like herbs are too small, shrubs are quite big, and trees are as tall as trees. Trees are very tall. If I talk about the coconut tree, it's too tall, right? So shrubs, some plants develop branches near the base of the stem. This stem is very hard but not very thick. Okay, so here comes the difference. These are not soft, not as soft as shrubs, right? Their stems are thick, may be brown, may or may not be, green. If I talk about plant like a rose plant, its stem is woody, it's not green. Whereas if I talk about any other plant which has green stem, there are many, like you might have seen marigold flower plant. So that is the plant has a green stem, right? It is not, may or may not, it's not very thick, not even may, it's not very thick. Such plants are called shrubs. The stems are thick, these are hard but not very thick. Okay, so these are the points of differences. You should, like if they ask you an exam, just a moment. If they ask you in your exam, so what you will do, like differentiate between herbs and shrubs, right? So there is a proper method of writing answer. Since we are focusing on exam, let's be exam oriented. So just draw two columns. Here write herbs, here write shrubs. Okay, first point. Herbs are plants with soft stems, comparatively tough, harder stems. It's the first point here. Second point, small in size. Second point, bigger in size. Fine. Similarly, you can write the third difference as, may not be branched. Similarly, you can write may be branched. Maybe usually branched. All right. So that's the thing. So similarly, you can make tables of difference in your notebooks and registers, so that you can go for revision afterwards. Okay. Then trees. Now talking about trees, you can just even estimate their properties. Some plants are very tall and have hard and thick stems. No, plants have no, isn't it? Like trees have very thick, trunk. This is known as trunk of a tree. So it's hard, it's woody. All wood furniture is after all made from this, and is thick. Then the stems have branches in the upper part. Yes, when we go upwards, there may be branching here, and these branches may be softer as compared to the the main trunk of the tree, but are hard. But comparatively might be smaller and thinner and softer than the main trunk of the tree. Such plants are called trees. All right, so I hope these things are clear to you. And as I just said, you can create a table of difference for your reference in your future reference. Okay, now if I talk about depending upon the stems, now basically this one we have studied about the size of the plant. Herbs are very small, shrubs are quite big, and trees are very big. Okay, now depending upon the nature of stem, depending upon the stem, we can classify the plants into two categories, two more categories. First one is creepers and next is climbers. Okay, creepers and climbers both have thin stem, thin and soft stem. Now you might be thinking, okay, it's stems. Are these herbs? Actually not. Herbs are plants of smaller size. Their stems are thin and softer is another characteristic. But creepers and climbers can be big. All right. Like if I talk about watermelon, it's a creeper. How I say that? It has very thin stems but has very big and heavy fruit, and the plants are also usually very big. Like this something. This is a watermelon. Assume it to be. My drawing is not that good, so yeah. So it's a creeper. Melon, watermelon, pumpkin. These all are pumpkin are all creepers and climbers. Okay. Example is money plant. Okay, we usually call it as money plant in the layman's terms, right? So these all are also climbers. These are climbers. Now, what's the difference? Climbers can climb up the wall, whereas creepers can't. Plants with weak stems that cannot upright but spread on the ground. Aha, spread on the ground, cannot stand upright are called creepers, while those that can take support and climb up are called climbers. Right? Those can take support and climb up are known as climbers. Fine. So far what we have studied, based upon the size of the plant, we have divided plants into three categories. Then after we have based upon the stem, nature of stem, we have again divided into two categories, climbers and creepers. Climbers. Okay. Okay. So let's move ahead to the next slide for the forthcoming topic. Okay, now parts of the plant. Okay, children, so we have divided the plants into various categories. Now we are moving towards the part of the plants. Okay, so like if this is a plant, it has a stem like this. Then it has a root system, something kind of this. It has branched roots, maybe. Okay, this be the ground. Okay, it has more branched stems. It has leaves on it. It may have flowers. Fine. It may have a fruit. It has nodes, buds, various other things. Right? This part is known as shoot system. This part is known as root system. Okay, so now we shall study it in detail. Okay, stem. Stem is the center part of this shoot system, this one, along which the plant has been aligned is the stem. Water moves. Okay, now stem. Okay, so this main, this is the stem. We also have some branched stems. These are sometimes termed as branches. Okay, so I'll just write it again. This pen just went off the path, so I could not write it clearly. These are termed as branches sometimes, but these are also anyway stems. Okay, so what is the main function? As I always say, in biology, they will ask you only two types of, not only, but majorly two types of questions: functions and locations. All right. Yeah. In functions, like if I talk about functions of stem, stem is responsible for movement of water upwards in plant. Why do I say upwards? Because water is absorbed by roots and this water moves up through the stem to different parts of the plant, be it leaves or flowers or buds or fruits. Everywhere the water has been supplied via the stem. Okay, stem has few internal organs which you shall study in detail in the further classes. In between we have xylem. Yeah, or in between, yeah, in between we have xylem fibers, and here we have phloem. Okay, you will study this in detail later on. Xylem is responsible for water conduction, and phloem is responsible for conduction of food. Food is prepared by leaves. Okay, we shall study it in the forthcoming slides. I'll explain it in detail. Okay, so for now you should know what's the what is stem. Stem is the central part of the plant along which the plant is aligned, and secondly, what's the function? It water moves up the stem and reaches the leaves. That's the major function. Next, now leaves. Okay, so now listen carefully. Okay, this part is very important. I will write it here, very important. Okay, it's very important. Now leaves, leaves, you all have seen leaves. I'll show you. These are leaves, right? Okay. I'll go point by point. Okay, that's why I have made these pointers. It will give us a better clarity. The part of the leaf by which it is attached to the stem is called petiole. So as you can see, this leaf is not labeled. I thought of labeling it in front of you. Okay, so children, if this is a leaf, this will have a small stem like this. Sorry, it has been cut from the diagram. Assume this to be the main stem. So where it is attached to the stem, this is known as petiole. What it is known as? Petiole. Make sure you are looking at the labeling I am doing, because for exam you need to know the labelings. They'll ask you draw the well labeled neat diagram of a leaf, structure of leaf. The broad green part is called lamina. So let me just underline the points that I am just labeling it in the diagram, and we'll revise it at the end. Petiole we have just labeled. Now I will be labeling lamina. What is lamina? This green surface, this full green surface like this is your lamina. But how will you label it? For labeling it, you will have to draw a circle like this and just write here lamina. Okay, that way. Next, the design made by veins in a leaf is called leaf venation. So what are veins? Children, these can you see these lines, kind of these lines? These are veins. Okay, these are veins. Okay, now as you can see, okay, in this is also a leaf. Okay, this is also a leaf. This is lamina here. This is lamina here. Where this will be attached to the stem, it will be also the petiole. Now here, veins are these ones. Okay, these are veins. These are veins here. Okay. Now, children, you can observe that in this leaf, the veins are not in a regular fashion. These are either branched or a mesh kind of has been formed. So this condition is known as reticulate Venetian. And as you can see here, the veins are parallel. This condition is known as parallel venation. This condition is known as parallel venation. All right, here we have a reticulate pattern, so we call it as reticulate venation. Whereas in this leaf we have a parallel, pattern, so we call it as parallel venation. So that's a major point of difference in varieties of leaves. For example, parallel venation is found in banana leaves. And if we go for reticulate, I can find it easily in people plant. People, yeah. Okay. So now, the design made by the veins is called leaf venation, right? if this design is a net like on both sides of the midrib. Okay, so a new term comes here, midrib. This is the midrib. This is the midrib. This is the midrib, extending till petiole. All right. Now, on the either side of the midrib, this side and this side, these are the veins, and the nature, the pattern these veins follow in their arrangement on the surface of the leaf refers to the Venetian type. To the Venetian. Okay. Okay. So this is a reticulate Venetian, and this is parallel Venetian. Already marked here. Okay. So we have just discussed it. Okay, that's again okay. The venation is reticulate, and if the veins are parallel to one another, that is known as sorry, parallel venation. Yeah, actually I just lost the pen, so I had to do it. Okay, so we have just now marked midrib. Then after we marked, reticulate venation, then we marked the parallel venation. Now, next, these points are very, very important. This will form the basis of entire syllabus in the plant, botany. We call it as botany. In the plant physiology, we will study various processes in the further classes. These two processes mainly include transpiration and photosynthesis. Now, what is transpiration and what is photosynthesis? Children, as you know, plant is absorbing water to the roots of the plant. Now, where does this water go? After all, it has to go somewhere. So there is a major loss of water of the plant through the surface of leaves by the process called transpiration. What happens, as you have seen here, these are the leaf surfaces, and from these leaf surfaces, the water, the vapor form of water comes out by the process called transpiration. It is majorly through a structure present on the surface of the leaf called stomata. Here also it is present. This happens through stomata. It's a bilobed kidney bean. Bilobed, yeah, I cannot call it as a bilobe. There is exact term for it. So this structure is known as stomata, and it has two longitudinal cells along it, where they regulate the loss of water. Okay, so let's go through the definition. Water comes out of the leaves in the form of vapor by a process called transpiration. Plants release a lot of water into air through this process. As I just said, it's a major process through which the water is lost by the plant to the atmosphere. So it's very important. Okay, so note it down. You can underline in your textbooks as well. Leaves prepare their food in the presence of sunlight. Okay, so as I said, plants prepare their own food. Plants prepare their own food. Okay, by the process of photosynthesis. And in this process, sunlight is very important. Okay, and if the leaf is not green, it can again not prepare food, because this green pigment is called chlorophyll, and this chlorophyll is very important for the process of photosynthesis. Very important, or I just should say that photosynthesis will not occur if the leaf is not green, or I should say if it does not contain the chlorophyll. I'll just write it in detail. Photosynthesis is due to two major things: sunlight. Photosynthesis always occurs in the daytime, not in the nighttime. And next is it should contain the green pigment called chlorophyll. And by this process, they prepare food. Okay, exact procedures, the chemical reactions we will study, as I said, again in the further classes. And so that's the basic thing about the structure of leaves. I hope this was clear to you. It was not that tough, and I hope you have understood the topics well. Okay, so as I'm saying, you should underline the points in your textbook, and you can just note down the important points that I say. Now talking about the root system. Okay, so roots can be classified into two more categories. Okay, before we go to classification, what's the function of roots? Roots help in holding the plants firmly to the soil. They are under the ground. They are responsible for holding plants at the position. For example, if there were no roots, and I just talk about a coconut tree, which is very big, right? And there is nothing in it below the ground to support the tree. So if heavy winds blow, this thin and long tree will someday fall down like this, right? So for that, that's the reason, that's the function of roots. It helps in holding the plant in position. Okay, so all right. So like as I said, roots helps in holding the plants in position, the right position. And if these are not just holding, support the plant at the right position. Okay, now we can classify the roots into various categories. It's a general observation. Roots are of two types. First one is taproot system, and the second is fibrous root system. Taproot has a major root in between, a main root, a primary root. This is known as a primary root, and this has various secondary roots coming, branching out of the main root. These are the secondary roots, right? So as you can see, this the major example is like radish. You might have seen radish, carrots. They have taproots. Similarly, if I talk about the fibrous root, it does not have any criteria of primary and secondary roots. All roots are similar, and all have a common point of origin here, somewhere here, and all just originate here. They may be branching at the further ends, but are majorly like a fibrous, from a center point, they all are oozing out kind of structure. And it is majorly observed in the roots of an onion, right? You all might have seen onions. uh, okay, yeah, example is onion. This is the fibrous root system, and roots of onions roots of onions. All right, so that's the major thing about roots. Now moving ahead, now comes the very important part. Like I said, leaves are important, flowers are also equally important. Like I should not discriminate among the parts. All are equally important. But on our exam point of view, if I talk about the perspective of exam, so leaves and flowers are the major parts, because maximum questions will be framed out of this region. Okay, so this is the flower. You all might have seen a rose flower, right? It has very beautiful petals. So the first part of the plant that I'm okay, before we move to the structural part, I'm very sorry, I should not take directly the structure. Firstly, let's discuss the what is flower. You might have seen very beautiful structures on plants, right? You might have seen them. For example, rose, marigold. Then we have, what do we have? We have petunia, we have lily, we have so many, n number of jasmine, daisy, and there are n number of plants if I go on this counting. So yeah, so that's the thing I just want to bring to your attention, that flowers are beautiful structures on plants, and have it has a very good structure, a beautiful structure, a very important structure. Along with it, it plays a very important role in reproduction in plants. What is reproduction of plants? For example, if I have plant today, I want more plants in future. How will I get them? I'll have to plant more trees via seeds, right? I'll have to sow more seeds. Now, where do seeds come from? Seeds come from flower. Flower produces seeds. Okay, now how does it produce seeds? And the exact processes are not in syllabus today, but we will definitely study the parts of the plant today. Okay, so talking about the plants, parts of the flower, the first one that we should discuss in this slide, as mentioned here, petals and sepals. Okay, so as you can see, these are the petals, these pink color petals. These are the petals, right? We use flower petals for decorating, for in religious practices, various places we use flower petals. Why? Because they are beautiful, they have good smell, right? Now, talking about the sepals, this green part that is covering this is the sepal. This sepal. This sepal may be fused. Okay, there is someone who wants to join in. I think I had admitted him, but hello. Hello. Is this okay? As mentioned, Shastri ji, am I audible to you? Okay, okay, there's a child here. Okay, hello, am I audible to you? You can turn on your mic. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, so what's your name?
Sir, my name is Ansh.
Okay, so I hope you said Ansh Pandey, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ansh. So you are in class 6, right? Are you in class 6? Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So, have you entered class 6 or going to class 7 this year? Because, I am taking chapters from class 6 now. Okay, so I hope I'm audible. And as you can see in your on your screen, that I am sharing a screen where we are discussing structure of flower. Okay, so what is a flower? Do you know what's a flower?
Sir, I don't know.
Okay, so you don't know what's a flower. Okay, so Ansh, you might have seen, beautiful roses around you, rose,
Yes, sir.
right? So that is known as a flower. That is known as a flower, right? These are very beautiful flowers. Like this is a rose flower here. I'll just erase this part because this is getting confusing here. Okay. Okay, so this is a flower, right? This is a
Yes, sir.
flower. Very good. So this flower has very beautiful petals on it, right?
Yes,
This
sir.
part is, yeah, this part is known as petal. And petals are beautiful. They are used in various religious activities, right? We offer it to, when we go to religious places, we use flower petals, and also they are used for decorations. You might have seen it, right? Now, as you can see in this image, I have marked petals and also sepals. Sepals. Sepals and petals are two integral part of a flower. Okay. First one is petals and next one is sepals. This pink color part is known as petals, and this green color leafy part is known as sepal.
That one is okay.
Okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So now, okay, so I'll just change my screen. Okay, then I can explain you in a better way. Okay, just a moment. Okay, the screen is now visible to you, right? Yeah. So see carefully. Okay. Now, if I talk about a flower, it has various parts. For example, if I talk about human body, what the human body has? It has hands, it has legs, it has face, ears, mouth, right? Similarly, flower also has many parts in it. Okay, so we will study that today. First one is petals. You have just seen petals in a diagram that I showed, right? Then we have sepals. Then we have the stamens, I should call it as. Then we have the carpel. There are four parts majorly. Okay, now these petals are the pink color, the decorative part that I just showed you in the image. These sepals are the green part that also I showed you in the image. Now stamens and carpel I will discuss in the next one. Okay, so I will just draw a symbolic representation of a flower. Assume this to be flower. Okay, also my drawing is not good, so do pardon me for that. Okay, so these are the petals. Okay, so this is that green part, the sepals. This is the stem of the flower. Okay, these are the petals. This is the stem. Okay, now this part we have to study very carefully. Okay, yeah. So as I said, there are two more parts, stamens and pistil. Okay, stamens contains two more parts, anther and filament. You might be new to these terms if you are entering class 6, or you might know these terms if you have completed your class 6 and moving to class 7. So first is anthers and filament in stamens, and pistil has three more parts, stigma, style and ovary. Okay, so now I will mark these parts on this diagram here. Then we will move to a very beautiful image. There it will be much more clearer. Okay, so this structure is known as stamen. And as I said, stamen has two parts, anthers and filament. This thread-like structure is known as filament. I'll change the color. Okay, then it will be more better. This structure is known as filament. This thread-like structure, this one, and this bilobed structure is known as anther. Okay, cool. Then if I talk about the pistil has three another parts, stigma, style and ovary. Stigma, style, ovary, and this is your pistil. This part is known as stigma. This tube-like structure, this is known as style, and this bottommost, this ball-like structure is known as ovary. Okay, so as you can see, there is only one pistil in this flower, only one pistil, and there are many stamens. This is one stamen, this is one stamen, this is one stamen. Just a moment, I'll change my screen and show you a better diagram. Okay, are you there? Okay, so as I said, yeah, this is a very beautiful diagram in front of us where the parts of flowers are clearly visible. But let's move to the next slide. Yeah, okay. So here, as you can see, this flower is very beautifully drawn for us. This green part is known as sepals. This beautiful colored part is known as petals. Petals and sepals. Then we have two more categories, stamens and pistils. Stamens are these structures. This is a stamen. Okay, this is a stamen. It has two more structures, this one and this thread-like structure. Okay, it has two more structures. First one is the bilobe, this top one structure. This is known as anther. And this thread-like structure is known as filament. Okay, this is known as anther, this is known as filament. So it has two parts, anthers and filaments. If I talk about the pistil, this is pistil. This one. Okay, and it has three parts. Again, we'll change the color for clarity. Okay, this top part is known as stigma. This tube-like structure again is known as style, and this circular ball-like structure is known as ovary. This is known as ovary. So pistil has three parts again, stigma, style, and ovary. Clear? Right? Now I will discuss these structures in more details in the next slide. Okay, so as you can see, this part is known as stamen, right? It had two parts. First one is filament. This thread-like is filament, and this top part is known as anther. Okay, this is known as anther, and this is known as filament. And this is nothing but what? Pistil. It has three parts, as I just said. First one, top one is known as stigma. This tube-like structure is known as style, and this ball-like structure is known as what? Ovary. Okay, and when we cut this ovary from here in this plane, like if I take a blade and cut this ovary like this, on top I can see more internal structures, these small beads. Okay, and these bead-like structures are known as ovules. These bead-like structures are known as ovules. All right, you have just joined, you are a bit late for today's class because the class started at 5 and it's almost 5:50 now. So you might be finding these terms very different, but like I was discussing the topics. Okay, so I'll just take a small glimpse of what I taught today. Okay, then we'll continue new things in the next class. Otherwise it's of no use, right? So today we were discussing chapter 7 from NCERT, which is getting to know plants. Do you have this chapter in your book, Ansh? Hello, am I audible? Ansh, are you there? Okay, so I hope you are there. I consider this to be your presence. Okay, so getting to know plants was the chapter we were discussing today, chapter 7. And okay, so like we discussed about the various classifications based upon the size and nature of stem. Okay, depending upon the size, we discussed about the herbs, shrubs, and trees. Herbs are plants with smaller size and soft and tender stem. Then we move to shrubs, where we discussed about that they are, you know, a bigger size plants. Okay, so I hope there was a network issue with you. You have now joined. Hello. Okay, so you have left the meet. Okay, I assume it to be a network issue. So I will continue now from the topic where I was discussing earlier without going for the revision. Okay. Okay. So discussing about the structure of the flower, we have just now seen that this part is known as, you know, the stamen, which has two components, filaments and anthers. Then we have petals in a flower. We have sepals. Talking about the pistil part, it's stigma, style, and ovule. Okay, actually this is mentioned as ovule, but it is collectively termed as ovary. This has to be termed as ovary. Inside ovary, we have ovules, right? So that's the thing. Also, you know, there are two parts. First is the male part and another is the female part of the flower. Male part consists of the stamen, or I should say stamen is the male part, whereas pistil is the female part of the flower. It contains three segments as discussed: stigma, style, and ovary. And in, you know, the stamen, okay, in stamen we have two parts, segments, considered as anthers, filaments. Okay, so I hope I was able to explain you the structure of flower. So far we have discussed about the roots, stems, leaves, and flowers. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed, everyone of you enjoyed today. So did I. Now moving ahead, we have a quiz with us. Just a moment. Actually, you know, it goes so it doesn't answer all your queries that you have in your in the chat box. Okay, so thank you so much. When you will leave the class, after I answer the doubts and make sure you have filled the form, then you all are free to leave the class anytime.